My name is India Foster. Currently, I am a social media strategist for UT Southwestern, so medical center, the hospital downtown in Dallas. I actually just started in December, so this is a new role for me. My previous role, I was a digital content producer for the Ricky Smiley Morning Show, so a national syndicated radio show. So grew up in Frisco, graduated from Liberty High School. I went to college. I went to Prairie View A&M University, HBCU, and there I studied communications, graduated in 4 years, thankfully. And yeah, I would say I would love if you have questions, I would love like questions and answers. I feel like I love like interacting. So if you want to ask any questions in the chat or anything, or if you want to speak, I'm open to that. So I'll just talk about I guess just like being in high school and being in college. So I would say in high school, first of all, I feel like I've always been a person that was very sure of myself. I feel like I always knew along the lines what I wanted to do. So I know in high school I was engaging in everything. Like I always say like I'll try something once, within range. um so in high school, um I always loved to write, and I feel like my teachers like they really saw that in me, so they challenged me. So I was always that person like, oh, well, they said I should do this, so I'm gonna try it. So I did like AP English classes, and then I heard about yearbook one. I don't know how I heard about yearbook, but I really was like interested in yearbook. So I joined yearbook, and it was crazy because like just from doing English classes and the electives, the broadcast team also had asked me to join that broadcast, but I couldn't do both because it was both at the same period. So I decided to do yearbook. I was like, I like writing, let me do yearbook. So I did yearbook, and I feel like that is what led me to figure out what I wanted to do with my career. So with yearbook, I was able to, of course, like write stories throughout the year, actually produce a product that everybody can, see at the end of the year, going to events, taking photos, and I went to high school from 2009 to 2013. Like, wow. It seemed like not that long ago, but it was kind of a long time ago. um, so yeah, that was fun. I feel like yearbook allowed me to really see different things. So I feel like being in high school, I like trying different things. We got to go to yearbook camp at Baylor, so that allowed me to see different colleges, and we got to stay for like a week. We did some trainings. I got to meet different people. So I feel like just trying new things in school that were free and just throwing myself out there allowed me to have these opportunities. So I will say, actually, when when I decided to think about college, um, I knew I wanted to go to a HBCU, but of course, I had friends who were like, "Oh, we're gonna go to U of H. We're gonna hear." Okay, one school, my school in high school. I don't know if this is a thing at your schools, but everybody was going to Tech, A&M, and UNT. So I said, I'm avoiding all of these schools because I don't want to see y'all. I'm starting a new life. I want something new, fresh, different. Like I've always been, like I said, I know what I want. I'm an individual. I want to do me. So I decided, I was like, let me look at U of H because my closest friends were looking at U of H, but I always knew I wanted to HBCU. And so I don't even know how I found out about this opportunity, but one of my friends, she was like, oh, there's a HBCU college tour going on. A church in Fort Worth was like putting it on. Just randomly heard about it. And so my mama drove me to Fort Worth all the way from Frisco. We went to the informational meeting, and I ended up going on this college tour. So the college tour took us to Clark, Atlanta, Spelman, Morehouse for the men, and we also went to Tennessee to see like the Martin Luther King Memorial, the Lorraine Hotel. We just drove out there, saw it, took pictures, and then went to Atlanta. It was just like a weekend thing. So when I went to Clark, Atlanta, I knew I saw Spelman. I was like, okay, it's okay, but it's all girls school. That wasn't my ministry. So I was like, let me go. I have to be around the boys, of course. At that age, that's what I was thinking about. So then when we went to Clark, I was like, oh my gosh, the vibes were there. I felt support. I was like, okay, I really want to go to HBCU. Like seeing a lot of different people who looked like me and very multicultural. I feel like a stigma that people don't realize. They think that because they're HBCUs or these special schools for this group of people, they think that it's not diverse, but it really is. Like there's so many different type of Hispanic people. There's so many different types of Black people. Just because we might look the same color, you know, we come from different walks of life. And I feel like going to the college tour showed me that. I was like, okay, like, and then especially growing up in Frisco, they didn't talk about HBCUs. And then when I was telling people about them, they were like, you don't go to all Black school, like what's like, why would you do that, you know? But I said, it's okay, like y'all don't understand, like I'm me, it's okay. So I went to view U of H, and I remember when I went to go look at U of H, I just felt like it wasn't. I was like, this is not it. Like I really was like, I want to go to HBCU, but U of H is it. Everybody was raving about U of H at that time. I don't remember why, but a lot of my closest friends, like I said, was going there. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna go to U of H. Went to visit the school, and I really didn't like it. I was just like, wow. And I was trying to force myself to like. I was like, okay, it's okay, it's okay. And then I applied, and I did not get in because my SAT scores were not there. And so I was like, what the heck? Like I thought my whole world shattered. And I feel like when you're in high school, you think like everything right now is like the end all be all. But I wish somebody would have told me that like life continues on, everything happens for a reason. And there's like, just because the path isn't from A to B, there's like A1, A2, A3, there's multiple steps to get to an end goal. So I wish somebody would have told me that. And I know my daddy, I remember he was like, I remember I got the letter, and my daddy said, oh, the letter came in the mail, and I was like, open it. And he was like, okay. And so like, I feel like if you get college letters, if it's a letter, it's a no. If it's something big, then it's a yes. And that was my first time, and I don't think nobody in my house really knew that. So I was like, open it, open it. So I'm texting my dad, like, and he was like, you didn't get in. I was in the back of the stairs and like fell out crying. I'm so dramatic. And I was like, oh my God, I didn't get in. And then it's like, okay, like other people are getting in. I felt embarrassed, and I was like, okay, like I got to figure it out. I went and I viewed Purview. Automatic yes. Like the way like culture is, and I'm sure you probably see on like TikTok and social media now, it's like, more trendy these days. I felt very supportive. I saw a lot of people that look like me. They have plenty of opportunities for me to even like hang out at the school before I attended. Like, so I went to Prairie View, I found out about all these opportunities. So I was able to spend a weekend like at Prairie View with a student. It was called like a shadow program. So you sign up, you say what major you want and all of these things, and you basically shadow a student for a whole day. And then you go back, you can stay in Houston or whatever, like, with your parents, you couldn't stay overnight at the dorm, but you come back the next day and, getting questions to answer. I feel like going to a HBCU they really helped you along the way, especially, I mean, you're 17, 18, if you're interested in college, you might not know all the steps. Your family may not know all the steps. And even if they did go to college, because I have one parent that went to college and finished, and I have one parent that got kicked out of college. So, and then it was like the times are different, things that have changed. So when I went to school, like there was so much support, so many people helping you, students willing to help you. And I feel like I didn't get that at U of H. So that's what inspired me to go to Prairie View. And then when I got there, I always knew that my major was going to be communications because, like I said, I was really into journalism and things like that. And I feel like I wish somebody would have told me back then, even if, because I've seen a lot of friends who decided to, claim a major and then they might switched it. But I feel like back then, I don't know, people always felt like, oh, you don't know what you're doing. Da, da, da. Like, I don't want to change my major, but I'm like, again, it's not the end of the world. If you change your mind, like, you can always change your mind. Like, I feel like even to this day, I have to tell myself, like I said, there's no right path. It's just your path. So even if you change your mind, it's okay. And try everything. Like, I feel like when I got to college is when, like, I was really making the foundations for my career in college. And I feel like I wrote some notes on the side. The most important thing to me, I feel like, even in high school, network. And what that means is to really keep your circle close. And one thing that I've always, like one of my like biggest morals or principles is like, it costs nothing to be nice to people. So, and you don't know how like that relationship is going to affect you in the future. So super, super important. Like the reason why I got both of my jobs, like, well, I would say my big girl jobs like out of college was because of people that I met along the way, my journey in school, coworkers, like those connections are important even in high school, because when I was looking for a job recently, I posted on LinkedIn saying like, hey, I'm open to look for a job. Random girl from high school, like she messaged me, was like, hey, my company is going to be looking for roles. Like, here's the leader to this position. Talk to her. She's going to be looking for somebody at the top of the year. Just somebody I can't tell you we had a memory together in high school, honestly. We just went to school together and I talked to her. I remember talking like, just how school is. So, but just the fact that she felt it, she felt it like on her spirit to like help me out when she really didn't. And I feel like I really contribute that to always being a nice person, especially in a world full of bullying and TikTok and all. Like, no, be nice to people. If you don't have nothing nice to say, really, just don't say it. Like, that's something that I'm really, really big on. And sharing things, like, don't share. If you wouldn't want it done to you, don't do it. Like, because you don't know how that might affect somebody else. So in college, I'll say just like I'm gonna just list off some tips I wrote down. Or career, like this help with career exploration as well. Like I feel like in high school, I definitely didn't realize how, like again, how big like your career really, it's really all about who you know, honestly. Because every job you have to go through a training. So of course you need those basic skills. Of course, you have to be able to prove that you know how to do the job. But honestly, when I think about super important career points, is are you a likable person? Are people gonna want to be with you 8 hours, like with you 8 hours out of the day, every single day? That's like 75% of the battle there. So again, being a good person and you know being reliable, honestly. I think in my career path, being in social media, again, we spend a lot of time together. We're talking all day. We're sitting. But I want to collaborate with this person. Is this person genuine? I feel like being a good person in your career makes a difference, because one day the person at the bottom is going to become the person at the top. I really, I really believe that. And a lot of old heads, they might feel some type of way about you, and so especially in social media, I don't know if anybody's interested in social media or media. Of course, I'm sure a lot of people are. The circle is small, so you do anything. I don't know if you've heard this before, but there's only what like 2 degrees of separation from the next person you may know. So somebody knows somebody, and your reputation is everything, especially in this career path. I know a lot of people may want to be, they want to talk about entertainment or sports or anything. It doesn't matter what field you're in, especially with communications, media, all of that. Like somebody knows somebody. So having that good reputation, having a good work ethic is super important. I will also say in college, try everything. Again, like when I went to college, I did newspaper, became the editor-in-chief of the newspaper. I had my own radio show. There's a TV station. And then when I was in college, I started my YouTube channel. So I know that's super popping a lot of this TikTok now. So when I was in college, I started a YouTube channel. YouTube back then definitely was like on its come up. And I watched a lot of people who vlog. And so I was like, okay, like there's a couple of HBCU vloggers, but it wasn't that many of them. And there was no one covering my school. So I just basically vlogged my life and showed my life in Prairie View. And I wish I would have stayed consistent, because it was doing really, really well for the time. And I still do YouTube, but I just showed my college career. And I feel like that also opened my own opportunities for me personally. Like I was able to partner with Southwest Airlines at the time. This was like a long time ago when I was in school. They were looking for like HBCU ambassadors for it was like the Prairie View versus Grambling game that year, the Cotton Bowl. And so somebody in my school, like the lady who was like over communications, she knew me. People knew what I want. And that's another thing. Be vocal about what you want to do. Because a lot of people say like, oh, don't tell everybody your business. But no, like that helps. When people know what you want to do, it helps. So they're like, oh, I know that girl. She wants to do this. I know that girl. She's interested in this. Let me give her a chance. And I feel like in college, when I was able to throw myself into things, so everybody knew, like, India got a camera, India writing something. Oh, she's going to be at this event. They knew me for this thing. And so when opportunities presented itself, they knew who they were like, oh, this girl want to do this. Like, she's serious. So I think with the help of my YouTube channel outside of school, also being so involved in those activities really helped me with my career today. So when I was in college, I was able to travel so much for free. Like, I went to a lot of conferences. I was able to use that to leverage stuff that I wanted to do. So I was like, okay, like I write a newspaper. Let me figure out how I can reach out to somebody to go to this Chris Brown concert for free. And so I ended up like reaching out to somebody that I met at a conference. It was like NABJ, the National Association of Black Journalists. I met this random guy who was a reporter. He was in his career and I was in college. I kept his contact, again, networking. And I was like, hey, like, I want to review the Chris Brown concert for my newspaper. How can I find someone? So he was like, and a lot of things are not going to be handed to you. So he was like, look up, search this and report back to me and tell me what you find. So I was like, okay, get my Googles. I was like, this is what I found. He was like, okay, this person doesn't work here anymore, but email this person, tell them this is how you script it, and tell me what happens. And I was able to get 2 tickets and a press pass to cover Chris Brown concert for the newspaper. And I'm just like, okay, like, of course I'm going to cover it because I love newspaper, I love writing. And Chris Brown is my favorite. So, and I got to take pictures and write about it and just say like, oh, hey. So that was just, stepping out on faith, believing in myself and being like, let me put some action behind this thought. What else? I've been able to go to a lot of conferences. Being in school was like the best thing for me. Even I feel like if a lot of students aren't interested and they might not think college is for them, I want to do YouTube. Listen, longevity. I think about longevity. That TikTok bag and a YouTube bag is not gonna last forever. And if you really pay attention, a lot of YouTubers are going back to a 9-to-5. They're looking for ways to, find security because I'm 28. I just turned 28, and I'm like, yeah, like that was like some stuff is fun and giggles, but like now you're like, okay, I want to buy a house, I want money, I want to start a family, and it's like you need I need health insurance, and I need things to be in order. And so I think that students with y'all have a lot of access to things these days, but just think about the future because everything's gonna change. Because I'm not that much older than y'all, and I remember when YouTube and Snapchat and all that stuff was coming up. And jump on a wave, of course, but make sure that you think about things in the long run. Just think about how fast Snapchat went away, and then how new TikTok is, how Vine is not even a thing anymore. The things change so fast that you always have to catch up on a new wave. So think about if you want to chase those things forever. Like, I mean, eventually, like you're gonna need a mental health break. You're gonna want to lay down and not create content. Sometimes it's tiring, but if this is your job, then you're stuck doing it forever, So, well, not forever, but for a minute. So I would just say be smart. And I think with me being in the entertainment and media field, one thing I realized, so I just started a new role, like I said. I work for Rickey Smiley. So I talked about a lot of entertainment things. And I thought that in high school and college, I was like, yes, I want to be a reporter. I want to be on air. I want to do these things. And I feel like a part of growing up, something that I realized is like, you're not going to have the same dreams forever. And I thought that I would. I wish somebody would have told me, like, your mind's going to change. It's going to change. Like, I would just speak for being in entertainment communication. So like working for like the Shade Room, things like that. Like eventually, like you may like age out of those things. Like the same interests that I had at 18 are not the same interests I had at 28. Like I don't want to talk about Blueface and Krishan all day. Like that was weighing on me. That was weighing on me. I'm like, these are the things that people are talking about and reporting. And it's like, I think that this relationship is horrible. It's toxic. Why are we, publicizing these things? But when you look at it, these are the things that's getting numbers. These are the things that people are clicking on. So I have to talk about this. And do I want to talk about that when I'm 35 with kids? No, I don't. I don't want to do that. So I was like, let me figure out something else. I have these talents. I can and one thing, like just speaking about communications, just because that's what I know. Writing is so important. Learn how to write. So I feel like since I knew how to write, I can take my talents anywhere. So that's what led me to shift into going to the medical field. I was like, okay, what's a a path that has security? I mean, tech is one of them, but then the tank the with tech, a lot of people lost their jobs recently. So for me, I was like, I want to go to tech or I want to go to medical because I know those two things are like secure. And how I got my job is someone from my college. She knew that I was looking for a job. We worked at newspaper together, and she said a role just opened up. Here's my manager's email. Email her today. I did that, and we interviewed one interview, and she's like, we may have a second interview, we may not. We interviewed on a Friday. I got a call on Wednesday, and I was doing paperwork by Friday. Just our strength with that relationship from newspaper, And then she also was a HBCU grad. She went to FAMU, so she was like, we spoke. She was like, I get a good vibe. I would want to work with you. I think it'd be great. I already knew somebody else on the team who also went to my school who vouched for me. She said, you came highly recommended from 2 people on the team. You're in. So the power of like network, keeping in contact with those people, and also just being a good person and being somebody that is enjoyable to be around. Like I said, that's half the battle. So yeah, I don't want to keep talking. Do you have any questions?
Just like everything that your whole story is like exactly what I needed to hear, just in a sense, because I just graduated and I'm in my first like freshman year, so yeah, second semester, and I'm in the process of like figuring out what I want. And
Mhm.
just I was just telling Portia like earlier today that I wish I would have had a little more guidance when I was choosing colleges or whatever, just because
Mhm.
I was undecided, that I don't have to figure it out. I don't have to have it all figured out
Right.
at this very moment. And I'm gonna change my mind. And that's just a part of like the process and growing up and figuring out
Mhm.
exactly what I want to do. So definitely just hearing your testimonies. And as I'm like getting myself out there more with like Big Thought and like talking at conferences and stuff, something I feel that I need to like work on is just networking and putting myself out there. That's the hardest thing for me, is like, well, how do I approach these people? How do I share my like interest without it seeming like I'm throwing myself out there? Because for
Mhm.
me, I tend to just, well, I'll just keep it to myself. I mean, they could be having a conversation about my interest, and I don't really share information. I just kind of watch as the conversation goes down. But like you said, it's good, let people know that you're interested in that. And that's something I've been hearing like from my friends, and they're like, oh, you that was a perfect opportunity to mention that you're interested in
Mhm.
this school or you're interested in this. And I was like, I guess you're right. It's just I'm still working on getting myself, like putting
Mhm.
myself out there. So like hearing your testimony of the things that have come out just because you've put yourself out there, it's inspiring. It's definitely encouraging. Just so I don't know, like as I'm working and learning how to navigate like networking in this whole like corporate world, it was definitely good to hear. So
Yeah,
thank
I
you.
would say, yeah, I would say like it definitely takes practice because I felt the same way. And then you don't know how people are gonna like perceive it or anything like that. So I would say this is something that I used to always do. I feel like I really talk to myself in my head. So one thing I do to like build myself up to like tell somebody something vulnerable or ask for help because I feel like asking for help is always hard. I always just like kind of practice it in my head, like what do I want to say? Like maybe if they said something like empowering, just say like, oh my gosh, like when you were talking, like that really inspired me. I feel like, I try to like connect it some type of way and then ask for what I need. And then I feel like when you're at a conference or things like this, most of like 9 times out of 10, those people want to help. So it's always a good opportunity. And one thing that I used to always do is like practice it in my head. And then I'm like, while I'm walking over, I'll be like, okay, 3, 2, 1, start talking. Just start talking. Like I just kind of throw myself off the edge because I'm like, if I don't say it, if I don't do it, then it's not gonna happen. So I'll say like when I got to college freshman year, I was of course YouTubing like Purview, seeing what was out there. And there was this one girl, her name is Jazzy Black. I don't know, she's on the radio on 97.9, middays, 10 to 2. That's my girl. She's older than me, and I watched her on YouTube doing like the same stuff. And I went to the newspaper interest meeting, and she was there. And then I just went up to her and I was like, "Hi, Jazzy. Like my name's India. I'm a freshman. I'm from Dallas, like you." And I was like, I saw you on YouTube. you're interested in all the same things as me. Like, I just want to be like you. Like, how can like I help you help me? Literally just like that. And she was like, okay. And she has a cool personality. So she was like, oh my gosh, you know who I am? Like, like people are excited. They like to, feel themselves. And so ever since then, we've been like super close friends. Like, she helped me like we're like this. Like, so sometimes just throwing yourself out there. So she helped me like throughout college, like, okay, join this paper. Okay, like the radio station is doing something, come with me. Da 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 da. And a lot of times, like, you have to help people to get to where you're going. And then building that like friend group of like people who have the same interests as you really goes a long way, especially if you're interested in like communications and things like that. When people have the same major as you, like, make that a circle. Like, have that group chat. If somebody's going to something, support them. Like, oh, even if it's 10 minutes, like, oh, look, take a picture, shout them out, retweet, whatever they got going on, really support them. Because that's how my circle works. And we're still like that to this day. We may not talk every day, but we see each other on social media. We try to hang out when we can, but like being supportive, like, goes a long way. I'll say, like, I had an internship in Houston at a news station. So I really thought I wanted to be a news reporter when I got to college. So I was like, I'm gonna do all these things. I want to be on air radio, but I think I want to be a news reporter just because, that's what you see on TV. And so did a news internship one summer. I met a lady at a conference and told her she inspired me. She was like a plus size, like dark-skinned woman. And I was like, oh my gosh, you're so confident. Like, oh my, I want to be like that. Like, I don't see a lot of that. And she was like, yeah, I see a lot of you and me. Email me, we're going to connect. And she actually had like a mentorship program that I didn't even know about. So I joined the mentorship program and she helped me through college. So she helped me get my first internship at her job at a news station. So, and she whipped me into shape. She was like, okay, you in this news station with all these white people, there's not a lot of Black interns and there's not a lot of HBCU interns. Your hair needs to stop right here. Them long nails, cut it out. She was like, she whipped me in and she was like, for this summer, if you want to work, this is what they're looking at. Do your work, get the experience. So I did the news internship for the whole summer and I hated it. So I'm glad that I did the internship because I had the experience to see what it was like. And I was like, oh, this is not what I want to do. So trying new things, you may not know what you want, but if you try things, you can figure out what you don't want, which will lead you better to what you do want. So that was a blessing too, because I was like, if I would have spent my whole college career thinking I wanted to be a news reporter and doing that, and then I don't have a lot of skills to, go off of. But just to bring it back to my original point. So somebody in school, one of my friends, she had graduated and she was living in Houston. And I was like, I need to do this internship. I'm from Dallas. I don't have nowhere to stay. Can I stay with you? And she was maybe 2 or 3 years older. So she was like, okay, yeah, you can stay with me for the summer. Like, she was like, yeah, I need like this amount of money just like per month. And I had to pay internships. Like, I need like, I think she made was like, I need $200 to help me with rent and bring toilet paper when we need toilet paper. So those was my rules. I had to give her $200 and I had to, and my parents, they helped me out if I didn't have it, and I was getting toilet paper. I'm like, okay, I can get toilet paper. That was pretty cool. So just that network, and I'm like, I got to do that internship. I had somewhere to live and it was great, so helping that connection. And then also I was like, I forgot about this. So I ended up, when I graduated college, I worked overnight at iHeart, which is the pop station, what is 106.1. So I worked overnight, working the radio board, so make sure the commercials went out on time. And that was cool. I love working the radio. But I was okay, this is cool. That was like my entry level, graduated college, and I was making like like maybe like $10 an hour. And I'm like, I was making more money as a newspaper, like a newspaper in college. How do I have a degree and I'm making less money? But you gotta pay your dues and you gotta work up, like, especially in this field. But my best friend, she graduated a semester after me and she was like, oh, I got a job opportunity in DC. Do you want to move with me? And I was like, yeah, why not? So I just saved up 6 months worth of money and moved to DC, no job, no nothing. So I moved to DC. I lived there for 2 years and got a job at the radio station because the same girl, Jasmine, who let me stay with her for my internship, her mentor was from Houston and moved to DC and was working at the station in Baltimore. So I went there. She was like, oh yeah, come meet me for lunch, come up to the station, be dressed, have a resume just in case. So I go to the station, she showed me around, we talk, we have lunch, and she was like, oh, like she's letting me meet people. So I met the promotions director there, and she was like, oh, like I need people in promotion. She was like, yeah, come here, come in my office. So did an interview on the spot, got the job, first job in the city. Again, not paying much, but at least I had a job in a new city. And I feel like moving to DC like was like a turning point in my life. Just risking it. Just no. I always say like no risk, no story. So just going for it. So just talk about telling people what you want, and like I could say in a situation where that didn't work out for me. So my cousin, she was working for a station in Dallas, and she knew somebody who was from Dallas who also went to HBCU, who lives in DC, and she worked at TV1, and she was a content producer. She made content for TV1, and so I had emailed her. I was like, "Hi, my cousin knows you. Y'all work together," and she told me that you are from Dallas, you went to HBCU, so I'm just trying to connect the dots so that way it makes sense that she can help me out. And I said, I've seen a role online. I was looking to get some more information about it. So she was really dry in the email, like, oh, this role, I don't know any information, da da da. So I was like, okay, well, that's cool. And I was just like, well, I was wondering if we can meet for coffee one day just so I can network. I'm new to the city. And she was like, she was just really dry. I just remember she was super dry to me, and I was like, dang. So then I asked her something else, and she was like, if people aren't receptive or responding to you in the email, which means like they don't want to do this, so just get the hint. Welcome to the city. Good luck. So I'm like, it could go, yeah, and it's crazy, and she's gone on and still do great things. I mean, right now she don't got a job because I follow her on Instagram, but but goes on to great thing, and it's crazy because I'm like people like that. Like I've always like I know people who know her. Oh yeah, she always like that. She always like that. Yeah, crazy. So I mean, sometimes it work out, sometimes it doesn't, and it's just like I got to keep moving. I got to worry about me. So yeah. Uh, yeah. Anything else? Any other questions? What are you interested in doing, or what's your major?
So I'm doing community college right now, Dallas College, because I ultimately decided, oh, I don't want to go into university undecided. But I have
Mm-hmm.
a internship that was started in November with Big Thought, with Dallas Magazine, and that really
Oh.
expressed my like let me explore my interest in advertising and journalism
Mm-hmm.
and all of that. So that just a short time that I've been there, I've seen like, oh, this like it came out of such a perfect time, when a time when I was like, I'm not really sure what I want, and then for it to start right as I was starting my college like path, I was like, oh my gosh, I started falling in love with it. I'm learning about the business side. Now
Mm-hmm.
we're exploring the creative side, like the photography, and I have so many interests, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
getting to do that in such like an early age with this internship that it kind of was just like placed in my hands. Like it was so crazy how I think it was God's timing, just the way everything happened,
Yeah.
and I'm thankful for it. But what was the question? Sorry, I just started
Yeah,
rambling.
no, yeah, I asked you,
Oh, my
what did you
interest.
have? Yeah.
Yeah. So advertising, and right now I'm just in the process of figuring out exactly what sector of advertising, because that's
Mm-hmm.
so broad. I can do like the creative side, I can do the business side. So and a lot of schools want you to pick like a specific pathway for
Mm-hmm.
it. So it's not just like an advertising major. It's like, okay, do you want to be an art director? You want to be a copywriter? So that's kind of what
Mm-hmm.
I'm figuring out for myself right now. But yeah, so just like advertising, marketing, definitely social media,
Mm-hmm.
that would be something I'd definitely be interested in. So that whole realm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I tell you what, especially while you have your internship, just do like you said, keep doing everything. Like, go sit at this person's desk and say like, oh, like, so what does it look like in a typical day, or what's like always. I always ask people, what is the hardest part about your job? Like, what is something that you're like, like what's that? That's what I need to know to figure out. Okay, well, okay, this is the part. How do you like handle that? Like, how do you fix those problems? Um, yeah, talk to everybody in the building. Make sure you get those contacts. If it's social media, if it's because I mean, a lot of people that are older than me, I still just follow their journey. I comment. They might not follow back, but just they'll know your face, they know your name. So then once you may look for your next internship, and they might say like, oh, like like Angelica, she was a good intern. Like I know that this person's looking for an intern. Like maybe I can, connect the dots for you. So that, and also one thing that even to this day, like I do, like my manager, she's really like really cool. I really love her. She's asked me like, oh, like what do you see yourself for the next 5 years? It might like right now, it's just like, listen, I was trying to get out of one situation, I'm in a new one, which is better. I don't know right now. But I would always describe to people, like one thing I would tell you to do is always describe what you're looking for, because then somebody else probably knows what that looks like and what that role is. So if you're like, oh, like I want to work in advertising and I like, but I do like taking photos and I like, coming up with a storyboard or whatever the case may be, they might be like, oh yeah, I think you would do good at art directing. Like that's what that would be. Because like even like to this day, literally like 2 weeks ago, I was telling my manager, I was like, this is what I'm kind of going for. And she was like, oh, well, that looks like this. This is the person, talk to them and see what they say. So even to this day, I'm still like, oh, I kind of know, like this is what I want to do now. So don't like beat yourself up about it, but just like keep exploring everything. I was going to say something else, but I forgot. But yeah, I feel like that's like the main thing. And of course, you already know this. Keep doing it. Like I try to do an internship every year, every like season. Like I had maybe like I think I did 3 or 4 internships in college. So like just trying to get that experience. Like I had a radio internship, and then I did the news internship. I worked with like a company kind of like this. I did like a nonprofit company that went to schools and they put on events for schools. I did that in the summer. So just keep doing a whole bunch of things so you can meet a whole bunch of people, and then you have a range of skills. So then you can go anywhere, because those skills are super important. Like the more skills that you have, and the more like so people don't give people a reason to tell you no. That was my thing in school. I was like, I can host the event, I could do a video, I can, host the mic, I can write, I know how to edit video, I can take pictures, I know how to work a camera. Like, what you need? Because you're not gonna tell me no. That's what you're not gonna do. That was my like motive. I was like, you can't, this person on, they're like, oh, like I know how to do this, but I can't do this. Well, now you lost the opportunity. Now, and then even with now, when you get into your career, you're like, oh, I can do this, I can do this. Now I need more money. Like now I'm worth more. Like, your last person, oh, they did this. Well, I know how to do it. So pay me a little extra, So that's what's important. I don't want to take up the whole hour if we don't need to, but yeah, I'm trying to think anything else. Do you have any other questions? Because then I could just ram off my little list of tips.
How did you get like into social media? Was because I know was that always your plan, or because I know you said you wanted to be a news report or like writer?
I feel like with social media, I kind of just fell into it because it was like the new thing. I feel like, so when I was growing up, like there was Twitter, and then Instagram was only for iPhones at the time. And then, as social media became so big, it was kind of like I kind of just fell into it. I also like in school, like I said, I wanted to be a news reporter. Then I said no. Then I wanted to be in radio. And so when I got to Baltimore and I worked at the radio station there, I got to see. So I was in promotions, so which means I put on the events. So they were like, how 97.9, they're like, oh, we have Fiesta today. Da, da, da. Like I was the person out there like giving out the swag and making sure the event went well, taking the pictures there, posting on social media. And I feel like that's probably where I got my biggest start, because I was the youngest person in the building there. It was like me and 2 other people who were interns. So we all like worked together. So they were like, okay, well, we need social media is like, this was like in 2017, 2018, 2019. So that was like when social media really was picking up. Like it was like, we need a social budget. Like they started to see the importance of social media. And so with that, I was able to kind of like that. And that was an initiative that I took on. It's kind of like, oh, like we the new kids on the block. Y'all don't know social media. Like watch this. And it's kind of like I was doing things with trial and error, like showing they would allow us to have a little like freedom. So I was like, okay, do a video like this. And then if it makes the company shine or makes them money, it makes them look better, they're mainly going to be for it. So that's how I kind of got my start. I kind of just took it upon myself to be like, y'all are not utilizing Instagram. Like everybody's on Instagram. This is how people are, connecting. So I think that's where I got my biggest start. And then from there, it was kind of like, I don't want to be on air because I like to have my own personal life. Like I don't want work to be my life completely. And I feel like that was one thing I wish somebody would have told me as well. And in high school, like, of course, everybody, we have to make a living. Of course, that's important. But like your life isn't all about work. Like it's really not. And then when it does become that, like you're exhausted, you're tired. And I didn't want to be the bitter auntie when I got older. Like I was like, I want to have hobbies. I want to like, I don't want to just talk about my job when I go out. So when I saw how the radio personalities were, it's like they go to work, they're on air for what, 5 hours, 4 hours, but then they have to go out to do these things outside of work, like, oh, I gotta go to this remote, this thing. And I was just like, that seems like work is all day. So that's kind of not what I wanted to do. So the next thing I was like, social media, I saw how big social media got. Like I said, the times changed. So it's kind of like I just flew into it. And I also still get to use the same skills that I was using in yearbook in high school and then in newspaper in college. And still like I was able to write, create graphics, do video, all of that, those things in my last role with Ricky Smiley. So that role really allowed me to do all of my interests in once. And I feel like with social media, you get to be creative. So, and then with this role in the medical field, it's just a little different because it's something completely different. So I still have those hard skills that, you know, I can write, I can edit graphics, I can edit video. So I'm using those same skills just in a different way. The learning curve came with like understanding the medical and how, you know, they run their show because it's just a little different. But as long as you have those skills, you know, that you can do anything anywhere. But to your original point, yeah, I kind of just fell into it and it's of the time. So it was easy. It's a lot of social media jobs. So, you know.
So I thought of like two questions while you were talking,
Mhm.
but social media, it's like it's evolving every like trends. So like, how do you keep up with like as social media for career? You have to always be on top before things like trends wise. So like, how do you keep up
Mhm.
with that and
Mhm.
like not like get like, oh well maybe this post didn't do as good because da 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 da, or like, you know?
Yeah. Well, you know, with social media, everything's really just trial and error. You really just have to like put it out there. I say one way I do stay up to date is definitely using the app. So, you know, TikTok has so many, like I learned so much on TikTok. So like I see what's new, just like how everybody else is like, okay, like this is TikTok just dropped this, Instagram just said this, same thing. Also like my managers, the managers that I have had like with this role and also with my previous role, they really stayed up to date with like a lot of things come out in articles, like just reading like Ad Week. I think that's a good place, a good website that talks about what's going on in like advertising and social media and things like that. Yeah, I think it's called Ad Week. But really like the news, I guess, but like social media news, like just seeing what the trends are. But yeah, usually my managers, they'll be like, oh, like a social report just came out, social trend, this like, you know. So I would say the news, but not like TV news, you know, like website news. And then also my last role, my manager, she followed what's his name, Adam, whatever, who's over the guy over Instagram and Facebook right now. His name is like Adam Mosari something.
Mark Zuck. Oh wait, never mind.
No,
Never mind.
not Mark. His name is like Adam. But he's like the person on Instagram, and he always does these like Instagram real videos of like, hey guys, this is what's new on Instagram. And so she used to make that a part of our, yeah, his name is Adam. Yeah, he's the head of Instagram. Adam, his ad name's like Mosseri. But he's the head of Instagram. He usually does like sit down videos, like reels, like, hey, this is what's new on Instagram. And then we're like, okay, this is what's coming out. This is what's dropping. And also like like there's Instagram pages that post like news and stuff like that. So really being on the app is how we learn more about the app. So yeah.
And then lastly, something that like I'm always hearing when I tell people, oh, advertising, they're like, oh, that's super competitive. Oh, good luck with that. Everybody's trying to do that. So like,
Mhm.
and social media, a lot of people are trying to do that. So how do you stand out, or yeah, like how do you stand out in a crowd of people who are trying to go into this field?
Anything. Yeah. Um, like I said, I feel like one thing is like I knew how to do everything. So like I said, I didn't want to get like any reason for somebody to tell me like no, because it is a competitive field. But just think about it's a competitive field, but I'm like, what's not competitive? Like honestly, and then just think about it like it's competitive. Everybody needs somebody advertising. Like that's not a job that's gonna go away. Like people are constantly buying money. If people spending money, people gonna need advertising. So it's not competitive. There's a need. Like people need to be in those seats. and just look at the jobs. Like if you see a lot of jobs like online, like, like you have a chance. And I don't even think about that stuff because I'm like, if I see it and if I go for it, I get it, yay. If I don't, on to the next thing. So one way I stand out is definitely being hip to all my skills, making sure I'm honing on those skills. Another thing that helps you stand out is definitely the networking. So anybody you meet, just be a good person. Like I said, keep in contact, support them how they like. I feel like Instagram and like social media is just one way to like stay hip. So like, if you follow somebody, if you like somebody advertising, like their content, share it. Just give it like, oh my gosh, I love this campaign that such and such worked on. Like this is so inspiring. And they'll probably see it and be like, okay. Like, and then sometimes they may not respond, but like just showing that you're like hip and you're staying up to date, and also just supporting people goes a long way. Like people will remember that. I can give an example of that really fast. There was this radio personality, like I wanted to be on radio. Her name was like Debbie Deb in Houston. I was always like adding her, just saying, "Oh my gosh, you said this on air, so funny." Da, 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 da. And then I had reached out to, I was reaching out to everybody trying to do anything. And then she ended up having it like an event in Houston one day, and what was like one time in like the summer, and I was in Dallas actually. So her manager just randomly emailed me and was like, "Hey, like we know that you're a big supporter of Debbie. Like she's having an event, she needs some help setting up. Would you be available to come to this event at this time to set up?" And so I told my daddy like, "We gotta go to Houston," and then like did that, and like I helped set up her event, and I did that. I met some other girls there, like, and we follow each other on Instagram, so we keep in contact there. But yeah, and even to this day, like now she dropped out the radio game. Now she does a lot of spiritual work, and she has a podcast, and I'll ask her something in her DMs. She may respond a month later, but she sees me, and it served its purpose. So yeah, so I just be yourself too. Honestly, don't try to be like other people, because then when you try to be like other people, it just comes like you can tell when somebody's fake. You know when somebody's being fake. So yeah, be yourself. Even though that sounds so cliche, but it's true.
Thank you so much. Like I needed to hear that. Like I've been hearing it from other people, but like speaking with you, someone who's been in the business for a while, I don't know, it's definitely, I don't know. I needed to hear this. I needed to have this conversation. So thank you so much for sharing your knowledge with us and speaking with us today.
Of course.
Well, I will just say, this has definitely enlightened me. I always say this. I love, love, love having these chats. We get the authenticity from the stories and just how your life can possibly impact others. And so I'm just appreciative. Man, I'm blown away. I love it. Definitely. Lost my train of thought. I'm just excited. It really helps me to be able to look at things that I experienced, and it always takes me back to who I was in college and how I could have made different decisions, and maybe I would have been doing something different. I don't know, but definitely just hearing your story, it was like, girl, I'm gonna need to sidebar with you and ask you some questions, some more questions. Especially after working in nonprofit, I actually started out doing something different in college, and I was going to do psychology plus theater arts, and they took theater arts away, so I was able to just go full in within psychology, and that went into prevention and get my master's. But I promise, just with you talking, it definitely sparked the communications major that I thought about taking, because when I was younger, I was like, oh, I'm going to act. But just hearing the different aspects of what you were able to engage with and participate in, it's just phenomenal. And definitely just appreciate you for sharing your story, because it's needed. And these are the types of things that I think is so important for our youth to hear, because sometimes, there are some adults that, try to box our youth in, and youth are just so creative. They're so smart, and they just need the assistance and guidance to aid what it is that they want to do. And so when we have our speakers come and speak about their personal story, this is just like the meat that I feel like our students can just sign up, sit at the table and be like, I'm ready to eat. This is something that I feel like I can do because they've taken their path and it's worked out for them. So let me share my ideas so I can get the best fit thing that works for me. So it's definitely inspiring. I just appreciate you so much for answering the questions, of course, for our lovely guest, Miss Angelica. And so without further ado, this completes our chat. I'm so excited, just grateful to have had you ladies here. And so thank you. That's all I have to say.